Seahawks team that ranks 27th in the league in rushing. Dan, will this trend continue for the Packers on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. We talked a little bit yesterday about what could be the flaw of this football team, some of the middle field pass defense, but this rush defense under Jeff Hafley and the turnaround behind it has been absolutely enormous. You couple that with being top 6 in the NFL and +9 with the takeaways and top 10 in total points. Seattle's offense is hot. I think the pass game is going to be the biggest challenge on Sunday Night Football. This run defense has been very good. They got to get healthy with Ja and Cooper back. If they do, I think not only this weekend it continues, but this defensive performance on the back half of the season.
Man, what a great slate we have for Week 15. Get started
the
tonight,
The 4:30
of course.
slate is nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. All right, coming up.
All right. So this is actually pretty cool when you look at some of these numbers, because I remember going into this season, it was like we had a lot of confidence in the Packers and what they can do offensively, and Jordan Love continuing to evolve and grow and get better and better and better. And the real thing was like, okay, can they upgrade defensively? If they can kind of elevate defensively, it's on, let's go. And we can see, some of these defensive stats of true improvement. Obviously, right? Can't really be disputed. And I think going up against Geno Smith and this team and this offense, this game matters more than I think I would have originally thought. And let's take a look. So there's a great chance that some of these last couple of games for the Packers are pretty much nothing. Like, you have the Seahawks and the Saints. You come away with the win against the Seahawks. Again, you're really solidifying yourself in terms of playoffs, which I think is pretty much as good as gold at that point. But again, you can't imagine you're going to lose against the Saints. If you're losing against the Saints, then there's serious issues here. And that, honestly, like, at this point of the season, like, I'm so much less forgiving of some of these kind of catch games or anything like that. I'm just like, it's time, man. It's time to step up, right? Unless you're truly seasoned veterans and have been there, it's like, no. Like, it's time to be this team right now. So again, I'm counting that. If I think that the Packers are as good as I think they are, it's like, I'm counting that as a win. And then again, now you have the Vikings and the Bears, and going up against the Vikings and the Bears, I just don't know. I mean, for all I know, they even shut Caleb down for that final season. I mean, like, who honestly knows? That team is such a mess. Like, who even knows what you're even going up against? And again, also under this logic against the Vikings, they might be pretty locked in their spot. They might have at this point they might not have a chance to be competing with the Lions to win the division. Like, who honestly knows? But again, it might be one of those games now where you're kind of tiptoeing around each other, because both of these teams now are really locked in terms of where they're going to be from their seeding. So they're kind of like, there's a great chance that we could face each other in the playoffs. Like, we want to win this game, but we're not going to show our hand. We're not going to do it all just yet. Like, it's still going to be kind of this like little kind of delicate dance. And that's why, going up against the Seahawks, I actually think is probably going to be, again, unless there's real stakes involved in some of these later games, this is probably going to be the best game that the Packers are going to play, where they really need to bring it, and they don't have to even remotely hold back kind of anything in that regard. Like, they can just be like, this is a great team, a top team technically, in the NFC. Let's see what we got. Let's get after it. Let's be better. And I just think that can kind of go a long way. Because again, you roll the Saints, you play great against the Saints, even if like Jordan Love is really in rhythm and throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, like, that's great, and it's a boost, and it can be some momentum building, but it's, again, it could only go such a long way. But again, with the Seahawks, it's like, this is another playoff team, right? Like, it's another team that can do some damage. You could be seeing them in the playoffs. Like, I just think it's one of those teams that you can kind of refine yourself, cut your teeth in, and just be like, okay, this is what we need to start doing. This is what we need to double down on. We're going up against a team that we have to legitimately figure out and scheme against, and of how we can attack them, like you had to do against the Lions and there you go. But the Seahawks are clearly a very, very, very beatable team. So it's just right there. It's almost kind of like if you watch First Things First with Chris Broussard, where he talked about oh man, I forget whoever the Miami Dolphins are playing. It completely slipped my mind. I think it's the Texans, but where he was saying essentially like people think the Dolphins are better than they are. So when you beat them, it feels good. It's good energy for the locker room. It's momentum. They have enough big names, but this is a very beatable team. I think it could be similar with the Seahawks, not exactly, but not in a way that it benefits. Like I think it's more practical than just trying to get a win that appears to be good. I think a win against the Seahawks, and again, depending on how you play, like it actually matters. It actually matters from a more practical of again getting this offense to continue to evolve and grow, having this defense continue to step up and be what it's been, and just the Packers kind of putting all of this together at the right time. This game right here against the Seahawks can be that beginning step of having things finally start to sink together. They were slowly kind of there against the Lions, but not really. That second half definitely, but definitely not the first half. And then now you go up against the Seahawks, which again, they aren't a trash team, because when you kind of roll a team that's really not that good and they have a backup quarterback, whatever the situation may be, it's like, yeah, things feel connected, but it's like, it's just, I expect to beat my little niece and nephew in one-on-one basketball, okay? Like, I don't have any momentum building from that, all right? Like, and so that's to me where this game goes. And so I actually prefer to have this game first. You get that connection. You get a nice win. It feels like, again, you're connected. Now you get a chance to really be like, all right, we're good. We got this. You get to have that great momentum, roll in and play the Saints. Again, you better beat them, and you better beat them convincingly if you're going to be a legitimate top team. And then that leads you back into the Vikings and the Bears. And again, it's this whole kind of like surfing wave type of aspect where it's like, all right, like we got our win, we got organized, we got to even then kind of have like I don't want to say like a pseudo bye against the Saints, because I don't want to act like the Saints are completely awful. But again, it's just I got levels of my expectations of who the Packers can be. It just sets it up to kind of then, have a very question mark game against the Vikings, because it all going to depends on what's at stake there, as well as then finishing this all up with the Bears. Because again, the game against the Bears, especially with seeding, it might not even matter who's playing for the Bears, because the Packers might be like, oh, we're already locked in the 6th seed or the 7th seed or whatever, the 5th seed. We're resting our guys too. So that's where it kind of all comes into, because again, at this point, I'm really trying to see like how these games are going to affect where the team is at come time playoffs. Because it's like, again, we can look at it from a more micro level of like, how did the Seahawks match up against the Packers? And it's just like, I don't know if it really matters right now. Like, we're so deep in the season, it's like, will they be able to contain Geno Smith? And like, tune in to find out. And I'm like, all right, I guess, right, that is all technically all relevant, but it's like, I just, the way how my mind's working right now is definitely bigger picture. So that's just kind of the lens that I'm looking at it through. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Green Bay Packers and kind of how their defense has definitely turned the corner for sure from last year into this year, and where things are going to go against the Seahawks, and kind of will they be able to use some of these games coming up to kind of really build that momentum going into the playoffs? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.